Hello, my fellow nerds. How you guys doing today? Alright, so I finally managed to get through Full Moon, the second book of the Dresden Chronicles. And, yeah, and I also have the third book already lined up in my queue, so I can go ahead and, once I'm finished with the book I'm currently listening to, a book of the Wheel of Time series. I forget which one I'm actually on. It's one of the last books, not the last book, but one of the last ones. I think after this I only have like 2 or 3 after this, so I'm getting close to the end. It just takes a while. All right, so and the light's gonna hold on. Let me see if this works out. Okay, a little better, but yeah. It takes a while to get through this series. It's a big series. Let's see. And then, what other kind of update stuff? Like, I'm currently in Ohio. I don't know, I try to keep you guys updated on where I'm at. And then, let's see. I started watching Wolfpack. Very odd to see Sarah Michelle Gellar. Or Gellar, however you pronounce her name. Buffy, basically. It's very odd to have her be in a role. It's because it's been years since I've watched her in anything. I think the last thing I watched her in was Buffy, So that was kind of interesting. So that was kind of interesting. It's not bad so far. Then let's see what else. Carnival Row season 2 dropped on Amazon. I need to watch that. I don't know how many. I think there's at least 2, possibly 3 episodes on Amazon Prime right now. So I need to watch that. I've been waiting anxiously for that one. Alright, so anyway, Full Moon. I thought this one was really good. It was a really good sequel to the Stormfront. That was I believe that was the first one. And it takes place about 6 months after the previous book. I'm not a huge fan of gaps like that, because it kind of makes you I'm sure they're not going through anything like big, like they do in the books. But at the same time, you kind of wonder, like, what's it like day to day for some of these characters, in some of these books, because it just seems like it'd be very boring. Do they ever kind of like walk around, especially after 4 or 5 books in? Do they ever get to the point where they're walking around like, when is the next big bad thing gonna happen? I'm getting kind of bored. I'm just doing nothing but working and paying taxes. So, I think that'd be kind of interesting. And then, of course, another big problem with big time jumps like this that a lot of authors do that I am not a fan of. I really don't like it when they do this. Is they do short stories that kind of fill in the gaps in between. And sometimes they'll even include, and sometimes they'll have characters or events carry over to the main books. This is one of my biggest problems I had with the Southern Vampire Mysteries or the Sookie Stackhouse books, because they did shit like that, and it fucking pissed me off. And even fucking Patricia Briggs has done this a few times in her Mercy Thompson Alpha Omega series. So I'm not a big fan of shit like that, because a lot of times you don't know, because especially if it's an ongoing series, you don't really fucking know if when that's coming out, or even if it's like not even if it's like a series that's already completed. It's obviously you want to do your research about the series, but at the same time, when you start doing research about the series, you kind of accidentally start stumbling upon spoilers. So, I'm just not a big fan of big time jumps like this. But I understand that, sometimes it can happen, trying to keep the story kind of more up to date with the time of publication, So, anyway, what goes on in this book? Well, there's a murder. Obviously, it's that seems to be kind of like the usual normal thing for urban fantasy such as this. And Harry's also kind of dealing with some fallout from the previous book. Murphy, his sort of the liaison lieutenant he helps out with her cases kind of has some trust issues with him at the moment because he didn't give her all the information from the last book, and so he's trying to deal with that. And then there's also some more fallout on Murphy's side of things, and I'm trying to decide how much information to give you guys, because I'm just going to go ahead and say it. In this book, they're dealing with a werewolf. Yes. And what's really cool is, Harry doesn't know much about werewolves, so he consults Bob. It took me a second to remember his name, because for a second there, I was kind of like, well, what weird name was it? Oh no, it's just Bob. I like that. So he consults Bob, and come to find out there's multiple different kinds. And I absolutely love that. I love werewolves. I'm more of a werewolf fan than a vampire fan. Because, to me, vampires honestly just have a lot more ego out of a lot of other monsters. I'm not a big fan of that, and not only that, but they're always pretty. They're always, uber powerful. Like, I'm not a big fan of werewolves, Although vampires, my bad. Although a vampire did appear in the previous book, and much different. So that was actually a good twist. So I really love twists like that. But the werewolves in this book, there are several different kinds. There's wizards whose only power, they have no other magic, they can do no other magic, but their only magic is they can turn into wolves. That's not bad. Then there's werewolves that have a magical ring or a magical belt that allows them to transform into a wolf. There's also there's kind of more of a psychological werewolf. They don't necessarily transform, but they do possess kind of the animalistic urges, and I want to say this is magic, and this is magically driven, This is magically driven. So, and Bob confirms this is a magical thing, but there's no real transformation for this. So this really does kind of a good this really does kind of do a good job of kind of finding all the main werewolf myths and legends from across different times and mythologies, and basically just say they're all true, which I mean, it's good, but at the same time, that's basically a cop out. I'll probably do a video of some issues I have with some urban fantasy tropes, and that's kind of one of them. So I'll have to do that. I think maybe the next video. We'll see. And Harry's dealing with a werewolf, and there's a part towards the middle, towards the middle, 3/4 of the way through, where he is where he's fighting a werewolf, and it is awesome. It is a really good, really tense fight. Not a big fan of the ending of the werewolf. You guys know what I mean. It just seems especially considering what he did in the previous fight, because you'll kind of notice one of these things is not like the other here, and it just seems like it's kind of a cop out, or just kind of like a Chekhov's gun kind of thing. If you guys don't know what that is, that's basically where if you spend time mentioning this gun, you want to use it by the end of the story. Otherwise, what's the point of mentioning the gun? So they do kind of do this thing, but at the same time, not to kind of spoil anything, but it's basically you have a bazooka that didn't work, but the gun does. So it's just it was just kind of oh my god, that was kind of weak. So, but once again, James Masters I think it's Marsters. James Marsters, once again, nailing that narration. Really doing a good job. I'm really enjoying his style. It's a really unique style, a really good style. And so I've been really enjoying that. Really kind of a fast-paced this time around. Really starts off kind of not necessarily slow, but it kind of starts off, you know, as a nice little brisk walk, and then it starts to jog, and then it starts to run, and it just keeps going basically until the end. So it has a really fast pace. I'm not sure how I feel about that, in all honesty, because it works for some stories that do. It works for this one. It works for this one, but it doesn't work for other stories. There is another trope that occurred in this book that I'm not a big fan of, and that is it did the whole, okay, we have a problem. Let's try to solve this problem. Another problem pops up. Okay, let's try to solve this problem before we get to this, because we have to solve this problem to get to this problem. Another problem pops up. We have to solve this one to get this one to get this one. And it's just like, oh my god, so many problems are popping up, and it's like, you know. And I mean, all these problems are related. This isn't like a random thing. You know, it's not like, okay, we have to go to McDonald's and pick up food. All right, now, you know, oh, this building is on fire. You know, it's not random like that. All these things do kind of fit together, but at the same time, it's like so many problems are popping up. And it just really kind of seems like if someone had just made one different decision, then, you know, they could have solved the main problem a lot faster, you know. And by the way, this one really has a case of someone was an absolute fucking retard at the very beginning of the book. You're going to find out who it is. Alright? Pay attention to the beginning of the book. Someone was an absolute fucking retard. And, and basically just got themselves killed. So, and caused a lot of problems. So, anyway, I think that's going to be it. Sorry if I didn't give away too much in terms of plot lines, but I really do try to avoid that. You know, like I've always said, I'm not a big fan of spoilers. I understand, you know, like I heard someone say that if ruining a spoiler ruins a book, then it's not a good story. But that being said, a lot of times I'll probably go into this at another video. I'll go into this at another video, probably when I talk about the different tropes of urban fantasy I'm not a big fan of. So that'll probably be like a side note, hopefully. If I remember. We'll see. I don't write down any ideas for episodes for these videos or anything, so it is what it is. But anyway, I think that's going to be it for the day. This video is a little longer than I thought, and I mostly just rambled, and it doesn't seem like I did a great job of trying to get you guys to read this book. But yes, absolutely, please give it a try. It is Jim Butcher's Full Moon. And by the way, it's Fool, F-O-O-L. I don't know if I should have said that at the beginning. It's F-O-O-L, not F-U-L-L. Fool as in the Fool King. You know what I mean? Alright, so, yeah. Anyway, you guys be good. Have fun. You guys know what to do. And I will see you guys later.